If you've been on this twin flame journey long enough, I'm sure you've had a feeling of being cursed. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how generational curses are part of the block from you going forward in your journey, and 3 ways that you can turn your curses into a blessing. Hello, fellow flames. In case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I will help you live fearless, live loved, and live free. I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and today we're going to talk about how to turn your generational curses into a generational blessing, basically. So before we get started, if you have not subscribed and hit the notification bell so you know when all of my videos go live, make sure to do that so you can connect with me as I continue to deliver more and more information to share with you. And in this video, I am coming to you again, kind of sharing for my own personal karmic lessons and connection to my own generational curses that I've been working very consciously for over 5 years, that even my own family clearing this karma is coming into the deepest layer it ever has. So I want to thank all of you for following me on this journey, that have sent me your blessings for my dad. As you guys know, in the last video, I talked about my dad not being well and on his deathbed, basically. He is still not out of the woods, but he is still here, and there is still learning. There is still more that is taking place, and I've had some really deep conversations with him since I was with you that's really kind of brought forth again this message today. I feel like if I'm going through this, so is a lot of people. So if you are going through a lot of this clearing of your own generational curses, retemplating the patterns and the programs of family, make sure to leave me a comment. I want to thank all of you for your comments that you've left me. It's very inspiring to me to know that I'm showing up with a message that is on time and that is needed. As always, that's why I show up. So let's just jump straight in to the first way that you can turn your curse into a blessing. And the first way to do that is to make a conscious choice to choose to break free from the karma, the patterns, the conditioning, the belief systems of your generational bloodline. Now, it's going to also be about being able to identify what those things are that we'll talk about in a minute, because that's kind of one of them that I want to talk about. But in this one, I just kind of wanted to make you aware that if you're feeling cursed, if you're feeling like you're on this journey and no matter what you kind of do or have been doing for your personal self, on some level you feel like you're still trapped, then most likely you have received this generational curse that's not just in your contract, but it's in the DNA of your soul, that you're carrying the template within you that is carrying out the bloodline, like literally in the blood. And so it's kind of like making the conscious choice that you choose that it ends here, and that you can go through some energetic clearing, of course, to correct that and to basically repent the sins of the past or the karma of the past. And basically what really that means is that your family has connected generationally into their own karma, into their own lessons, and we're bringing balance to that karma. We are clearing that karma. We're rewriting the situation. And this is how we're not only letting go of the past way that everybody's done these things, but we're recreating a new way to go forward. And we're doing this collectively. So if you think about us individually choosing to clear this karma and to cleanse our bloodlines, and to do that, like say from like back to the beginning of time. Each era that comes in collectively, a group of people are doing it through a very specific era that we create. For instance, I'm going to give you an example of that. The baby boomers, you know, they were kind of born in kind of like the 50s. And then we have the hippies that were born, you know, in the 60s. Now, keep in mind that the timeline of these like people coming in for their assignment is connected to this, and is also linked to potentially your curses that you are, like part of your mission of why you came here. It might be a part of this understanding of the timeline you came in that might be part of what you're clearing for the collective. So not only do we have our personal clearing, we have our family clearing, and then we have like the collective clearing here. So like, for instance, in the 60s, I was born in the 60s, and, you know, I definitely am part of the opening portal to the new era, you know, and you think about hippies days of peace, love, harmony, right? That was the opening portal to the age of Aquarius that started in the 60s. And so I'm saying there's a connection and a link to that. And kind of fast forwarding a little bit here, but we move into the 80s and the entitlement, the Me Too movement, that started to collectively break down that connection to having to be linked to the generational process of saying, like, I'm going to be linked to you. I'm going to do what you need for the family, you know, or stay bound to the family rules, regulations, belief systems, you know. And the Me Too is more about the entitlement, about the fact that I'm going to break that mold of saying I can stand alone and I deserve this, right? So look at how the generations of maybe say the baby boomers or some in the older generations look at this new era of kids coming in, and look at that and think and judge it basically because it's different, because it's breaking down what people have been taught. We then move into the millennials. And just so you know, I have a child that's in the entitlement range with my daughter, and my son is the millennial. And a lot of the millennials are the star seeds we're seeing that are coming in already more awakened, and they're actually already doing it. They're already putting in the new way. Now, my son is a millennial. My daughter is more in the entitlement, as I said. My son is a millennial. Now, one of the things that I've been working with, that I've talked to you guys about, is not only clearing my own karma with my own parents, which, by the way, if you've not got plugged into my Reprogram Your Childhood Wounds, there's going to be a link below. The first module is free as to why you chose your parents and to rewrite your birthing process, which is representation to your entire life journey. And it's amazing how it plays out, that how your birthing process played out as to how your life plays out now. And until you go back and kind of maybe rewrite that and identify that, you might be repeating these patterns, and it might be a part of this keeping you blocked and trapped into that old way and the old patterns of the past. But anyway, so I was having a conversation with my son and updating him about my dad and my mom and the conversations that I had with them, and how I was telling him where they were living and how they came from a place of fear. And in the days they were born in the 40s, kind of like their era is kind of in that depressed state, where in that time that they came in, their parents were more living in the poverty or depression, and they took on a lot of fear. So my mom has always been in this fear mode of that there is never enough and can always be enough. And let's just say that your parent did that too, and now you always feel like there's never enough or can always be enough. This is what I'm saying. This has been encoded within you, that you need to identify what that is that you're carrying out, so that you can then choose to, you know, see it, and you can choose to like let it go and then reprogram the patterns so you can recreate the new way to do it, handle it going forward. But anyway, the really cool conversation I was having with my son was he could see all of this, and he started saying all of this. And I was telling him about where my mom was and the fears she was. And actually I didn't have to tell him, because he can see her fears. He can read her fears. And he actually brought her fears up and where she's at and how she handles things and how she lives in a state of fear, how they both did. And even like now with my dad being in the situation he's in, how they're playing it out in this kind of this fearful mode of some things that I was sharing with him. And when he said that, then I said, well, think about how I had to overcome that fear being raised with them. And I was explaining to him how we're breaking these generational curses and how it takes 3 to 4 bloodlines to clear out that pattern. And so if we take this back, my son is the 3rd and 4th generation of some of the specific things that I've been working on personally there in my life. And I see in his life that 3 to 4 generations has ended, and how he doesn't live in the state of fear, and he's not in any state of poverty, and how he's actually living out the new way. And now being a millennial, this is happening collectively as we all are breaking down like these patterns. So it was really cool that he was like, he got that, and he was like, cool, like, glad it's over, like I don't want to live that way. And I told him, I think I told you guys this before, but regardless, I had told him about the work I'd done with him to also clear my contract with him to break that. So I'm breaking it both ways, forward and backward. So I told you this, so if you do a rebirthing process that I gave you there, break it with your parents, but break it with your children as well. So the second way to turn a generational curse into a generational blessing is to find the innocence in all situations with your parents and even with your twin flame. Because what they are going through is no different than what you're going through in reprogramming their own childhood wounds. They are enacting in their daily life and in all of their relationships, including you, and in their relationships and their karmics, what they need to get the experience that they need. And it has nothing to do with you. You are only to look within yourself and to realize in this whole process that when it comes to these family curses, we basically all signed up in order to clear bad karma. And so we will enact the situation. We will set it up to also bring balance to that from a past life to a present life. So a lot of these soul partners, including potentially your twin flame, if you had a past life with, in that past life, the karma went down in one direction, and now you're reliving it, and it's not even coming from this particular life that is triggering you. It's deeper than that. It's actually triggering the past life to clear it, to heal it, to bring that to balance, to rewrite and repattern the negative state to the positive state. And you might feel the positive in it during this timeline, but you might feel the negative in it during this timeline, but that's because now you're transmuting it and turning it into transforming it and turning it into a positive state of energy from the negative state of energy. And in that, so there's one thing I mentioned too, is this is also in the DNA. So we always hear that, you always hear oh, we get judged. You raise this child and you taught the child the best that they could do, and they end up doing their own thing or their own way, which is the black sheep of the family, which is breaking that mold, and everyone thinks you're the bad person in the family because you're going against the grain. You're going against the rules, basically. Well, then the parents kind of get judged, or they take that on thinking they did a bad job. And so in that, I should say, in addition to that, I'm going to give you an example of me and my daughter. So we think about, you can raise them and think that how you raised them was how they should turn out. But you got to remember that they came in with their own soul contract, their own soul lessons. In addition to that, their own soul karmic clearing, and what they're doing and living out may have nothing to do with how they were raised. Now that can be a factor, but it doesn't have to be, because a lot of times you will give what you want. For instance, I had a conversation with my mom over the weekend and talking about how I didn't know how to share or receive love, and how she smothered me. She saw and said, I smothered you. And she goes, I saw you even when I was a child, not wanting to receive the love I had to give, and you would kick and squirm and not let me touch you, and all these things. And I told her I didn't know how to love, but she told me her parents never loved her, and they never gave her attention. They never said they loved her. They never cuddled her. They never hugged her. She missed it, she desired it, she wanted it, and she didn't want her child to not experience love. So it's like she was making up for the love she didn't receive and trying to overgive to me what she thought I needed based on what she thought I would want, what she wants. And this is what happens most of the time in this whole twin flame journey for all of this. When I say find the innocence, what people are doing to you, they're really doing for you. And most of the time they're doing it because they're giving you something they think you want because they want it and they're not getting it. And then how this can play into the DNA beyond just, say, the consciousness of this. And so, yes, you can make the choice of choosing this new way and to move beyond it and to break the mold, which you should. But the second thing is you got to realize that just because you were born in the family and just because you were programmed with these things and you played out all these patterns based on what you thought, it's in your bloodline. So what I was going to tell you is like how I linked to my daughter with that is my daughter never knew her father. So me and her father divorced and split up when she was 3 months old. And from that time, she never even met him. She had no clue about his like patterns, behaviors, anything like that. Now, he was very much controlling, manipulating, became an addict and had been before even me. He was the first and only person that was really older than me in a relationship that I'd been in with, like he was 10 years older than me. And so in the genetics of that, my daughter's disposition, her way she acts, the things she does is been like him and his family like her whole life. And I've always looked at that going, wow, how amazing. And that, like, one, she's not like that because I'm teaching her that, because I'm actually showing her the opposite of that. And she doesn't want where I'm at or what I am. But I was also in her kind of negative state of the codependencies, the addictive personality, the manipulation, the void that like nothing was filling for her. Basically, she wanted from me what my mom wanted to give me, or what my mom wanted, really, okay? And I didn't know how to give her that because I didn't need it. And so my mother, then it flipped the generation, and my mother was able, to this day, able to fill this spot for my daughter that I could never fill, because they're both Libras, but they mesh and meld in the exact place that like was me being in the center of them being in the opposite in two different directions. And so this is what I'm saying. We need to realize that what happens is we will be in the central place to find balance in ourselves, and we'll have a teacher from opposite polarities. We can do this in the twin flame journey too. We can have it be ourselves on our twin flame journey, and we can have our experience with our twin flame, and they're treating us a certain way or giving us a certain thing or the certain experience we need. And then in that, they're not here or in our reality. So we end up attracting another teacher that from the opposite end of that puts us in a position to feel like our twin flame makes us feel. And now we understand why the twin flame feels the way they do about the things we do to them, because they're doing it to us. And it's really bizarre, but you get to see it from both angles. So this from both angles is the balance of both sides, bringing that karma full circle to see it, feel it, and clear it and heal it, so that we find balance and wholeness and completeness within, and we don't project onto others what it is we feel, want, or what we're missing. So this weekend, I was finding a lot of innocence in the connection with my parents, and I came to them the most open that I've ever been in my life, to share with them my journey, to talk about our differences, to talk about my belief system and their belief system, and how it made me feel, and how what it was doing was helping to clear these generational curses, and that it was passed down from family to family, and it wasn't nothing that they did, but what they did gave me the experience I need from the opposite side, and how that made it perfect, exactly how it played out. So there's no blame in it. there's only the innocence, and that you gave me a gift so I can find that. And it was really cool because my mom started saying, she was like, wow, she goes, what you're saying makes so much sense. And she's even said, and was smart enough to get, she goes, well, we're clearing this stuff all the way back. And then she paused and she goes, to Adam and Eve. I go, yes, we are. So she was getting everything I was saying. So if you have an opportunity to work this and talk and communicate with your parents and your generational bloodlines and your kids and things, and be that open about it, there's going to be so much more healing, so much more quicker for everyone to clear this. The other thing I found out in this conversation that makes so much sense with my father and the whole clearing of that religion that I'll talk about in the third one here in a minute, but basically, no wonder he was the way he was also. So I kind of knew this, but I didn't know this, and it never heard it the same way. So this is why if you've been working this, you might be working it again, seeing it from a different light, a different angle, a different deeper level, a different layer, and get something you never got before. And this is why you can never do enough of this, and why you should keep focusing here if you're feeling these curses. But my father was talking about how with his mother and father, they were of two different religions. And his mother was so spiteful and so mean on certain levels that she would use the children, and my dad, namely here, that she would tell him, if you choose to go to church with me, I will wash your clothes. But if you choose to go to church with your dad, I won't. And so, wow, can you imagine? So she did everything of giving love was in something you had to have in return. And if you didn't get in return, I'm going to be spiteful. I'm going to be mean. And you see what I'm saying here? Like, then I felt like, okay, well, so what? No wonder my dad didn't know what it was like to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, to be given love unconditionally. So like my mother, he wanted to give me love unconditionally because he didn't receive it. But he also then put me on this pedestal that was the pedestal of only what he could see in me that wasn't me. So I ran from the pedestal my whole life. And then in addition to that, my mom had piped in and said, yeah, like your dad was so like resentful of your grandma that he basically, when we got together, it was like he didn't know how to love me. And I would ask him, how come you don't know how to love me? And see, with her parents, the way they were, my dad was coming in also not knowing how to love her. But my parents have been together 58 years. And so they literally worked through the stuff I'm talking about, because the relationship they have today is beyond words. And like, they are two of the most loving people individually and loving together that you will potentially ever see, really. And it's actually so miraculously beautiful that I can look and see how I've had this in front of me my whole life, and how I'm just now able to fully embody it and embrace it, because now I'm just now ready to receive all of that. So the third way that you can turn your generational curses into a blessing is to really identify what the karmic pattern is that you are rewriting. Now, it will help you to, like, I have a resource to help you in that, to do that through that rebirthing process that, again, I'll put the link below, that's rewriting your birth and understanding why you chose your parents and what is your major lesson in this lifetime. So make sure to check that out. But I'm going to give you an example of this. So for me, my biggest pattern and biggest karmic balance that I am doing on all levels is going from how religion in the past was something in my bloodline, also in my own soul's experience in other lifetimes, to where I basically was a nun, and I basically taught and made some rules that I've uncovered as part of my past life that set into motion the concept of following the path to Christ in a way of poverty, sickness and illness and sacrifice, basically. Now, that life parallels this life to a T, down to having a preacher for a father. And the way you wake up to these things, you have to kind of start by choosing to be ready, one, and asking for that information to come through, and asking your guides to direct you in order to uncover these things. And I always say, don't uncover them if they're for no reason, only if it's to put the pain of it or the experience of it, to rewrite it and transform it, and to bring that into power. Otherwise, just do it. Skip the process that you don't need to know. But in that now, I've been teaching that ascension process, which is the ascended version and the transcending the sacrifice into shifting from poverty to abundance, and also having came into a family generational bloodline of the poverty from the depression from my parents' parents to them do it in a better state but clearing it, to me still clearing it, and to my son being completely free of it. And so basically then that's transforming the poverty, as I said, to abundance. But another example of this that I've worked with clients, to give you an example, could also be like clearing your cultural conditions. And like one that keeps coming up that I've seen more than once is like black magic. So if you came from a long line of black magic magicians, and maybe you performed black magic in a past life, and now you're here, and those curses of black magic are still like everything that you did now has to be rewritten. So as an example, everything I created for poverty, I had to come back to do enough good to bring balance to the poverty I created in a past life, so that now in this life I'm creating it from a place of coming here and teaching you, just like I taught in the past, because I've been a teacher of this in the past in a different way, that coming back to teach it, I'm teaching you how to do it in a place of grace and ease and abundance, and not having to sacrifice to do it. So again, if you've done something, say, been in a cultural condition, or you've been connected to doing black magic in a past life, that means in this life, that black magic could still have a curse on you. And usually our gifts, you know, being the witch or the magician or all these things, we've all done it in past lives, and it's connected, and all of us know how to do this. It's just a matter if we're in tune to it. But you know, they always say psychics are like so many generation psychics, right? My mom is the same way, and she gets it. She knows she has these premonitions, and she knows she sees and does stuff like me too. And I don't know, somewhere down in her bloodline used to do the palm reading and the cups. So I come from a long line of psychics as well. The teacups, you read into a teacup. But so if you've been connected in this, you need to identify, I guess what I'm saying is, what it is you came here is the major thing you came here to bring balance to the karma, to bring it full circle, to bring closure, to clear what it is you did, that you do enough in the good side of it that you have canceled out what you did, and then it will create like a rewriting of that to go forward in this life, so that you're free of it in this life. Because if you still have these connections to these things, those curses are still running out. So in the first way I said, it's in your thoughts and your beliefs, and to choose basically to make a conscious decision to start this process. In the second way, I'm saying finding the innocence, because it's encoded in your DNA, and that you need to realize what's happening in the innocence of it. And in the third way in this is what I'm saying is, you really need to get to the heart of the pattern of what you're doing to clear out of what is the curse that you're rewriting, so that you can let it go. Another cultural one connected to this would be like prearranged marriages. We take on a lot of sickness, and this links to also, it links to like your nationality, like say for prearranged marriages and things like that. Also, that can play a role in your geographical location of where you are and where you've always been, or if it's been in multiple countries. And I'm just going to give you a quick example of this. I have a client this week that we uncovered this one for her. That's her block of her financial status going forward. And it was linked to mafia from past life and generational curses. And it was linked to, like, I was able to like pull this information in, and it all linked to what she said. It was linked to her original nationality, her original place of where the country of where she was at, that was a primary capital of mafia. And where she lives is a primary place of mafia. But it's a different country now. It's here in the United States. And so, like, then, like, everything that she is having issues with is linked to her ability. She kept saying, you know, we identified her number one thing is that she's tired of feeling robbed, of putting out all this effort to get nothing in return for all the work she's doing in her career. And, like, so it was just linked to this being robbed and the mafia, and links to her family, and links to where she's lived and where her family was born, and linked to where she lives now. And when you can, like, pull this up is what I'm saying, and you can identify that, you can see where it started. You can clear out that concept now of letting it go and choosing to cut ties to all of this, making it power in you now, and you can go forward creating the new way as we move forward, and be blessed in this versus cursed in this. So I send you so much love this week. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for all your messages, the connection to my father, and I'll keep you posted on that. I'm just kind of coming and, as always, showing up and sharing with you from my heart what's coming through. And I know if I'm seeing it, it's coming through collectively. May you have a fabulous Thanksgiving. Be blessed, be loved, be innocent. Choose to change what it is you came here to do. And I send you so much love. Make sure to like, comment, share the shine. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.